Andrew Cuomo has about as great of a chance of winning the mayor's race as the New York Jets right here have of winning the Super Bowl this season, which is slim to none. And Slim probably walked out that door. Look, Zohran Mamdani ran a historic campaign. Here in New York, 18 to 39-year-olds are almost never the largest voting bloc. It's usually middle-aged and senior voters who vote in a local New York primary for mayor. Zohran Mamdani brought out 40,000 new voters to the polls in the Democratic primary. Since the election, almost 3 weeks ago, he has started to unite the Democratic Party, earning endorsements from Democratic members of Congress, labor unions, many of whom had previously supported Andrew Cuomo in the primary. So, look, Zohran Mamdani is a very, very strong candidate. He reminds me a little bit, in terms of Democratic energy, of a Barack Obama or Bernie Sanders. I know we have a lot to talk about, but I actually would say a lot of what he's proposing, like freezing the rent or having universal childcare, is actually in the purview of the mayor of New York, either directly or through advocacy to New York state government.
Do you think, Batya, that as Mamdani, though, has won the Democratic nomination, that more people are taking a closer second look at some of his policies and perhaps understanding that the mayor can't raise taxes? That's the function of the governor and the state legislature?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm actually surprised by how little re-examination is happening. There was audio released on Friday in which Mamdani, in a 2020 interview, suggested that in domestic violence cases, the police not be called. I guess the women should just suffer the beating in silence and perhaps get killed, which is how those situations often end up. So honestly, I don't see any real re-examination happening. Now, that said, I think it's absolutely ridiculous for Governor Cuomo to try to do a redo of the primary. What happened to democracy? I am not a fan of Zohran Mamdani, but he ran a great campaign and he won that primary. And this is just really silly of Andrew Cuomo. I don't know what he's thinking.
Having said that, Batya, and Tripp too, polls show that Andrew Cuomo comes in second in a general election race against Mamdani and the Republican candidate, and and of course, Curtis Sliwa, sort of a gadfly who runs every time. It's Eric Adams who comes in, at the bottom here. And Eric Adams is refusing to get out of the race. I get it that he's the sitting mayor, but shouldn't he be the one to drop out?
I mean, looking at these numbers, if all four of these people win, it's obviously Mamdani's for the having. You would need two of them to drop out, I believe, for a one-to-one matchup to take place for Mamdani to actually lose. So the question is, which of these narcissists is going to drop out? And there you have it. The answer is none of them.
Tripp, you agree?
Right here in New York, we are very familiar with Andrew Cuomo, Eric Adams, and Curtis Sliwa. Let me tell you, there are a lot of big personalities in the Big Apple, but you'd be hard-pressed to find a collection of three more stubborn New Yorkers than those three right there. I don't know if any of them are going to drop out. On that, we can agree on. And by the way, Zohran Mamdani is going to do a season sweep of this election cycle if all these candidates are going to keep fighting each other. Because right now, he's getting close to measuring the Drakes in Gracie Mansion.
Batya, Mamdani won big with college-educated voters who were middle class. You wrote, like Free Palestine or Defund the Police, Zohran Mamdani became a synonym for cool among young leftists and a brand for disaffected white college grads. Again, if they're so educated, if they're college educated, don't they know he can't do half of what he's promising?
He's a lifestyle brand, right? His pins became a thing to show that you're kind of with the cool kids when you're riding the subway, right? It became a kind of virtue signal. We are with the socialist guy. Now, that said, he believes in open borders. He believes in fighting ICE. And really, the views of that college-educated elite is very much in line with that. They want, everybody in America to be on welfare so that they can do their podcasts. And then they want all of the labor to be done by illegal migrants. That's kind of the progressive view of how an economy should work. And unfortunately, it's really taken over the Democratic Party. Everyone's lining up behind this guy to endorse that worldview.
Do you think, what does this say writ large, Batya, very quickly, about the Democratic Party in future elections nationally? We're not talking, Democratic socialists are not going to start winning elections, I don't believe, in the rest of the country, but what does this tell you about where the energy right now is in the Democrats, or at least in this sort of scattershot attempt to define themselves? We heard, former President Barack Obama say today, Democrats need to get tough. Is this what getting tough looks like?
I can tell you the Republicans are licking their chops at the opportunity of hanging this guy around the neck of every national Democrat. So I think that tells you everything you need to know about Zohran Mamdani's, national appeal. This is exactly what Donald Trump has said has happened to the Democrats, that they're a bunch of socialists who don't believe in the dignity of work, don't believe in working class aspirations, don't believe in the American dream anymore, and that they're extreme radical on all sorts of issues that matter to the American people, and he's proving them right.
All right. Batya Ungar-Sargon. Go ahead, Trip.
That Zohran Mamdani is actually running a positive Democratic version of Donald Trump's campaign. Last year, Donald Trump hoodwinked many of the American public in saying, if you vote for him as president, your egg prices are going to get better. Your gas prices are going to be cheaper. That has obviously not been the case. What Zohran Mamdani is running on is that most New Yorkers, just like most Americans across our country, we want affordability. We want our lives to be a little bit more affordable, your rent or your mortgage to be a little bit cheaper, and fast and free buses. These are things that New Yorkers, half that New Yorkers and Americans want. And by the way, a lot of this the mayor can deliver on either directly or advocacy with state government partners here in New York State. And so, look, Zohran Mamdani ran a really strong positive campaign, actually the inverse of what Trump ran on. And I'll just simply disagree with many of the points that my colleague made earlier, but I know we're short on time, so I'll just leave it at that.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.